I'm Melissa Rosequist. I'm the news editor for the Scottsdale Independent newspaper. We have the 7 candidates for Scottsdale City Council joining us this morning. From left, we have Pamela Carter, Barry Graham, Daniel Isaac, Kathy Little, Stratton, Solange Whitehead, and Raul Zubia. This morning, we will be going through a handful of questions as well as getting to know all of the candidates. And we are here at Scottsdale City Hall, which thank you to the city for allowing us to be at this beautiful kiva. We'll go ahead and get started right away. So if we're going to start with candidate introductions, and so we'll just start from left. Ms. Carter, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, it's on now, I think. My name is Pamela Carter, and I'm running for Scottsdale City Council because I want to protect, promote, as well as preserve our Old Town heritage. I feel like we need to protect Scottsdale from the high-density overdevelopment, blocking our views, and the urbanization of our city. I'm a Scottsdale resident as well as a native of Arizona. I love this city. I love Scottsdale. I was born in Arizona and went to school in the Scottsdale school districts. So that's why I'm here. I know that crime is increasing and we want to make sure that our city is protected. I'm very happy that we have given the police officers raises because I brought that up at the last forum. And so I was very happy to see that. I want to preserve and fight for the rich Western heritage that makes Scottsdale different. We don't want Scottsdale to become any town USA. We want it to be that city that I know I grew up in. I love this city, and the reason I jumped in the race was because I was so grieved with what I saw happening with the overdevelopment, the high rises, the traffic was increasing, and now I understand in the general plan, they want to, council planning, the city wants to urbanize this city. And I think that's a big mistake. The reason why people come to Arizona, come to Scottsdale, is because they love the Western charm and they love what Scottsdale stands for. The wide open spaces. Our founder, Winfield Scott, had a vision. Our founder of Stillman Railroad Park had a vision for a place of families, community, and relationships, not the urbanized cities that Tempe, Phoenix, Chicago, and many of these other cities. Once that starts, it can't be stopped.
Thank you.
So I'm Pamela Carter. Thank you.
Mr. Graham?
Melissa, thank you so much. As far as how much time for the opening, 2 minutes, and then are you going to let us know with a bell or some sort?
He did. She dinged me.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. My name is Barry Graham, and I appreciate Melissa hosting. Sorry for the echo. Is that maybe you could turn this off right here? Is that better? I appreciate the Scottsdale Independent for having today's forum here at City Hall, and I appreciate the City of Scottsdale for hosting. I want to thank everyone who's in attendance today for being here for this, and I know there's a lot of people online streaming and watching, so appreciate their attendance too. I want to say that I'm the only non-incumbent candidate in this race who has voted on the city's most critical issues over the last 10 years. I've studied, deliberated, and voted on growth and development in Scottsdale, parking, housing, and dozens of other issues that affect your life in every neighborhood across our city. I know the importance of listening to residents, and but one thing I've learned about listening is that it's not enough to say you're going to listen. We need to elect people on council who, when they listen to residents, they actually factor those opinions into their votes. That's part of the decision making that we need. So during my Put Residents First campaign, I've communicated with thousands and thousands of residents in Scottsdale, and I agree with them. I agree with them when they overwhelmingly tell me that preserving and protecting Scottsdale's character is what will grow our economy, it's what will attract visitors, and it's what will preserve their quality of life. I think residents want, and I think they deserve for their voices to matter. So I'm very excited about today's discussion, today's forum. Melissa, thank you so much for having us, and I hope it can be fact-based, and I look forward to learning and hearing from you and listening to the candidates and being here with you today. Thank you.
Mr. Isaac, go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Dan Isaac. Like the majority of residents of Scottsdale, I moved to Scottsdale. I chose Scottsdale because it offers so much. Our great Western history and culture, the natural beauty of the desert, our entertainment options, the many, many events. It's a safe city, and the low taxes, well, that's just gravy. Scottsdale is a beautiful and thriving city, and I want to keep it that way, not just for us, but for our future generations. Now is the time to focus on what makes Scottsdale special, to preserve that spirit of Scottsdale that made it great. To do so, we must maintain our financial strength, achieve sustainability, and enhance our security. My analytic and financial background will allow me to make the best decisions for our city based on facts and data and input from residents, all of them, not just the vocal ones. Based on the forum last week, it's important to reiterate facts and data. Friends, our nation is being torn apart by divisive statements, false narratives, and extreme views. We cannot allow those destructive forces to impact Scottsdale. As you listen today, please be on the watch for gross exaggerations, denial of basic truths, and fear-mongering. Everyone is entitled to an opinion, but facts are facts. And no one on this dais is supporting the building of tens of thousands of apartments. No one on this dais is suggesting that we connect our city to neighboring communities with a light rail or mass transit. In addition, pay attention to whether my fellow candidates are appropriately focused on the budget and the economy, especially as we face the upcoming downturn. Now is the time to focus on what Scottsdale needs to retain key personnel, including our first responders, and maintain our infrastructure. It is a bad time to limit our pipeline. It's even worse time to spend recklessly on things that are nice to have instead of what the city needs. So please listen closely today, and you'll see that I'm the candidate that's going to give you facts and data instead of exaggerations and fear-mongering. I will be open to new ideas, and I will manage our financials with the appropriate fiscal discipline. Together, Scottsdale can be even greater tomorrow than it is today. I'd be honored for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Whitehead? No, I'm sorry, Ms. Littlefield.
Thank you. I am Kathy Littlefield, and I'm currently serving on Scottsdale City Council. I'm here today to ask you to support me and vote for a third and final term for me on council. I am the first council person to oppose the DDC Desert Discovery Center in our preserve, which would have allowed development inside the boundaries of the preserve. I also publicly opposed Proposition 420. I supported Proposition 420, which prohibits commercial development inside the preserve into the future. So we have protected our land. I have consistently opposed efforts to turn South Scottsdale into a bland, high-rise urban jungle. We need to stop overdevelopment, especially now with growing water shortages across the entire western United States. I work to enhance Scottsdale's economy. I support small business and tourism, and I support our downtown galleries, arts, and shops that contribute to our economy and to Scottsdale's unique special character and renown for art and culture. In short, I work for you, the citizens of Scottsdale, and that will not change. People know that if I am elected, I will stay the course. I'm honored once again to be endorsed by police, fire, and the Coalition of Greater Scottsdale, which is a citizen organization that represents all of Scottsdale. People know that if I'm elected, I will be true to my word. I ask for your vote, and I ask for your support. so that I can continue to serve you as your councilwoman in a third and final term and to keep our city special. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stratton?
Hi, thank you, and thanks for all of you for attending today. My name is Tim Stratton. I love Scottsdale. I love our lifestyle. My family moved here a little over 12 and a half years ago because of all the great amenities that Scottsdale has to offer. Great schools, great living, wide open spaces. It was really a dream, and we're all very lucky to live here in Scottsdale, and I want to keep it that way. We're one of the lowest tax cities in the valley, but yet we have such a great lifestyle. We have great amenities. We have these things because we have a tourism-based economy. I call it Scottsdale's winning formula. Scottsdale's winning formula is let's promote tourism, let's promote retail. The sales tax revenues that we gain off of those things help us pay for our wonderful city. They help us pay for public safety. They help us pay for all the things that we love and enjoy. If we cut off that pipeline, we cut off Scottsdale's success. And we can't allow that to happen, especially now in today's economy. With interest rates rising, inflation rising, a pending recession, our businesses and our way of life, we're going to have enough struggles as it is with the economy. We don't need a micromanaging city hall to shut down development, to stifle development, and to turn the page backward in Scottsdale. And so that's why I'm running, because we need at least one member of council who understands the economic realities of what we're facing. We need at least one member of council who's focused on the fiscal issues of keeping your taxes low and keeping your property values high. We owe it to those of us on fixed incomes. We owe it to our families who are struggling to put food on the table and stay in their homes. Scottsdale's facing a number of issues. We need somebody with financial experience on council to sound those issues and to promote the discussion of those issues so we can keep Scottsdale moving forward again. In terms of experience, I would beg to differ. I have also made some pretty significant issues as chairman of the Zoning Board of Adjustment and also chairman of the Scottsdale IDA. I'm also endorsed by Mayor Jim Lane. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Whitehead?
Thank you. I'm Solange Whitehead, and my husband and I moved here 26 years ago for just 6 months and fell in love with Scottsdale. We stayed and we raised our 3 children here. As it turned out, everything we loved about Scottsdale began as a resident idea and was turned into reality by a city council that listened. So things were changing in the 2010s. There was a dramatic increase in development that just didn't fit Scottsdale. The preserve was threatened, and residents, myself included, didn't have a voice here at City Hall. So I ran for City Council, and voters elected me to bring community priorities back to City Hall. 4 years later, Scottsdale's a whole lot better off. Working with residents, I've protected neighborhoods throughout the city. We've reversed the trend of overdevelopment, higher buildings, more apartments. Today, Scottsdale has more parks and open spaces. Our infrastructure is funded. We've prioritized vulnerable populations, and the McDowell-Sonoran Preserve is protected. Scottsdale is more than just a great place to live. Our economic engines are fueled by tourism. Our Sonoran desert quality of life is made possible by environmental leadership. We can't rest on our laurels. We must continue to invest in our city, adapt to the future, and stay true to our roots. We've achieved a lot in the last 4 years, but we're facing some daunting challenges. These are the challenges I know we have the tools and technology to overcome, and I'm motivated and inspired to keep working at City Hall and deliver results for Scottsdale. I also want to thank all the residents, hundreds of residents, that provide me the input for making the changes that I've brought to Scottsdale. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Zubia?
Good morning, everyone. I am Raul Zubia, and I am the only one on this panel who was born, raised, and still lives in Scottsdale. In fact, I still live in the same neighborhood that I was raised in. I attended Yavapai Grade School. I graduated from Coronado High School, and I currently hold a degree in public administration. Some of the community service that I've done in the past includes I was chairman of the Human Services Commission, and I am currently president of the Partners for Paiute Board of Directors. That Board of Directors works with those less fortunate in the city, providing emergency assistance or gap funding by social workers to get immediate assistance to those less fortunate. I'm also a member of the Charo Foundation. I'm on the Charo's Coronado Promise Committee, and I'm also a graduate of Scottsdale Leadership, Class 22. As a matter of fact, this past year I was awarded the Hodges Alumni Achievement Award, and that's given to someone who has done a lot for their community service throughout Scottsdale and the Valley. I'm also, and probably my most favorite, is I'm on the Parada del Sol Committee, and I'm also an announcer. I've been doing that for the last 5 years. I've been on the corner of Brown and Main announcing the parade. So next year when the parade comes around, come by Brown and Main, hang out with me, and we can watch the parade together. The reason I'm running is because, as I've said, I'm a lifelong resident. I've seen a lot of change. I've seen some good, I've seen some bad. For the most part, this city has done some great things for the future, but I see a change going, kind of a shift in belief now. I'm looking at a generation of citizens who want to keep Scottsdale the way it was, and unless we grow, unless we keep moving forward, we're going to get stagnant. We're going to lose revenue. We're going to lose shared revenue from the government, which means higher taxes, lower property values, and those amenities that we're so used to having here in Scottsdale will be either eliminated or reduced severely, possibly eliminated.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Sorry, I hit my alarm right as it was about to go off. All right, we will move into moderated questions now. As a reminder, you guys will each have 1 minute, 60 seconds to answer the questions. And for the audience, we have some question cards because we will be taking audience questions at the end. So if you didn't get a chance to fill one out, or during our forum today something pops into your mind, go ahead and grab one of these, and we'll have someone walk around towards the end to collect them. All right, who should we start with? Okay, I'm going to start with a budget question, so I think that I'll ask Tim Stratton if he wants to start, and then we'll just go down the line to Solange, Raul, and back around. All right. Scottsdale's upcoming budget is $2.1 billion for next fiscal year, which begins on July 1st. According to the city manager, city revenues spiked in the last year due to unusual circumstances related to the pandemic. Additionally, construction materials and fuel have been exacerbated. While general fund revenues are expected to decrease this fiscal year, city officials forecast a projected decrease in revenues the following year, in 2023-24, as stimulus funding works its way through the economy. How can the City Council ensure the city's finances are undisrupted throughout the ebbs and flows of coming years?
Great, that's an excellent question. And I'm glad to hear that you are pointing out that the revenue spike that we have received is just a one-time event, mainly because of all of the COVID dollars that are coming in the door from the federal government. So like any free thing, it's going to run out. And when that happens, we're going to have some financial pressures. So the most important thing that council can do is not to take those dollars now and think that that's, sustainable revenue coming in and spend it. Because then we're going to be in a real budgetary pickle next year if we've spent those funds now. So we need to set aside appropriate reserves and manage the budget conservatively. And that means holding the line on spending and not throwing all those dollars towards special projects. We also need to, keep a rein in on taxes. One of my opponents, Solange has indicated that now might be a good time to buy more land in the preserve. I think that's a bad idea. We've already got the largest urban preserve. I love the preserve. We need to take care of what we've got so we don't have wildfires in there, and we need to maintain our preserve. I don't believe it's a good expenditure of city dollars to buy marginally beneficial land at this point.
Thank you. Ms. Whitehead?
Thank you. So the preserve, every decision in the preserve was made by the voters. And so while I don't support or oppose a tax, I know that 4 people on council can't make that decision. That decision must be made by the voters. So when tax dollars are spent on taxpayer priorities, there is enough to go around. And one of the first things I did was scale back dollars that were being spent on special interest projects, dollars that were incentivizing development we don't want. And I went ahead and worked with our city manager to make sure that everybody just pays their fair share. So we have special events that had free parking even though they were charging for parking. That is no more. Those special event organizers now pay the city for parking. We've reevaluated and renegotiated many contracts to make sure that our taxpayers are benefiting, not those special interests. I think I just heard a bell. I will say that when you put community priorities first, you have a more efficient government, and that's what I've done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zubia?
Thank you. As the moderator said, COVID money is going away, so we must find a way to live within our means. And right now, we have some of the lowest property taxes in the valley. In fact, I think we are one of the lowest in the valley. And we must look at how we can spend the money that we have in ways that will benefit everyone. Yes, some of these special interest projects have to be looked at to make sure that they aren't being used, the money isn't being used that could be used better elsewhere. So we have to find a way that keeps our taxes low, that keeps our amenities keep going, but in a way that doesn't impact the citizens in a great way or in a way that is noticeable. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Ms. Carter?
I've heard about all these special interest projects, building roundabouts, building more sidewalks, making our city, and especially downtown and Old Town, taking away its western roots. I've heard all about these special interest projects. In fact, I was sitting right here at City Hall when the city staff proposed a $1.2 billion project bringing trolleys. You can look it up on their website, bringing trolleys up to the preserve, building a bridge. Now we're talking about building another bridge. I think we need to maintain our roads that have potholes. We need to make, it is true. I know I'm getting a look right now, but it is true. You can look it up on their website. It was proposed. It was not passed, but I do know that there's a lot of building projects going on right now that are in the planning stages. We have apartments that are already on the books, and I do agree with Mr. Graham that we do have over 10,000 apartment buildings that have already been approved. We don't need to build more affordable housing. We don't need, that's not what the city is here to do. And I'd like to maintain the beauty of Scottsdale, and the reason why I live here. I owned a business in South Scottsdale, the largest sports medicine and weight training facility in the nation. So I know what I'm talking about here. Thank you.
Mr. Graham, go ahead.
Thank you, Melissa. Well, the reality is that those COVID dollars are temporary. They're going to dry up, and so the city needs to fund itself in a sustainable manner. Everybody here knows that we have the highest bond rating you can get, AAA bond rating. That's something that I measure success by. That's one dimension I measure success by, is what's our credit worthiness, and the high bond rating that we have is very strong. In Scottsdale, we have low taxes and we have very good services. And why is that? Because we have a formula where a lot of people come and visit here. Our golden goose is our tourism industry. People come here from all over the world. They spend money. They help pay for all of this. They pay for the services we have, and they pay bed taxes. They pay sales taxes. So what I don't think we should do going forward is harming that formula, because you're going to hear from other candidates, and you're going to hear out there that we can't stagnate. And that's usually a dog whistle for you need to get more apartments. And so endless apartments is not something I do believe is best for our financial future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Isaac?
Facts and data. Yes, our budget is in a great shape right now, and as appropriately pointed out and confirmed by some of my fellow candidates, the funding is going to decrease because of the federal stimulus going away, okay? Not only that, but I know that our city treasurer, Sonia, and her staff are working on updating some expense projections because this transitory inflation is not transitory and it's uglier than anybody thought. So we not only are going to have a decrease in revenue, our expenses are projected to increase faster than our revenue. I worked with Fortune 100 companies over 30 years in good times and in bad. And one of the most important things that I learned is when you are sitting strong, like we are today, that's the time to make the hard decisions. When you can, not when you have to. And that's what we need to be doing as a city. And Tim is correct. We do not need to be doing some special projects right now. We need to be focusing on what is necessary to sustain our financial strength, or we cannot continue to offer the services at the low tax rates that we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Littlefield?
Thank you. Well, currently, currently our city is in good financial shape. Our budgets are balanced and we have savings that are sufficient to meet all of our foreseeable needs over the next couple of years. Last year, we hired a treasurer who I believe is the best treasurer we've had since I've been on council. She's knowledgeable, she's expert, and she shares her knowledge with us, which is really great. Our general fund budget will increase about $371 million this year. The budget includes, and this is why it's increasing, positions for both fire and police. It includes an STR police specialty group for increased enforcement. We're putting that together because you, the citizens, have told us that is what you want. We need to augment police pay. We are losing our police to other cities because we are not in competition with them, and that is something that we need to take a very, very close look at. Police and fire are our safety organizations for all of you, and we need to make sure that they are taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have more.
You can bring it up in your closing remarks if you want.
Okay.
All right. Our second question is going to be about short-term rentals, and I will start with Solange Whitehead this time. Scottsdale is among municipalities attempting to address thousands of short-term rentals within the city. Do you think that there is anything more the city can do within the bounds of state law to address the vacation rental boom, and what is it?
Thank you. Short-term rentals are destroying our neighborhoods, and the state law in 2017 took away much of the city's control. Since I've been in office, we've passed 2 ordinances and strengthened those ordinances. What are we doing today? First of all, we're continuing to advocate that the state restore local control. If we have local control, we can put into place an ordinance that says 3 strikes, you're out, and we can add zoning conditions, and we can differentiate between corporate owners and people owners. Many of our short-term rentals are owned by parties outside of the city. Right now, we are adding a police unit to better strengthen our response. We require that the owners of a short-term rental have someone show up to a home that's been disturbed within an hour, and there's plenty more that we are working on. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zubia?
Yes, short-term rentals have gotten out of hand, and it is unfortunate that the city's hands are tied. I think we could get together with other cities and try to lobby the state to give us more control so that we are able to moderate and the short-term rentals, the owners. I also believe that we should look at ways to make the homeowner accountable much more than they do already. It's unfortunate that there's not much that they can do at this point, but having that unit, I think, is a great idea. At least it it puts light on the fact that there is a problem with short-term rentals. So I hope that that continues to be stronger. I hope that we can get together with other cities to make our voices heard in a more in a louder way, so that we can have more control and get our hands untied. Thank you.
Wonderful. Just in time. All right, Ms. Carter.
Thank you, Barry. Actually, I am endorsed by Senator Nancy Barto, and she has introduced a bill called SB 1168 in the state legislature. I was the only one of the candidates that said they would work with state legislature, and I am endorsed by several legislators in Arizona, which I want to work with them to bring these bills, SB 1168, which Nancy has been a part of. These bills will actually bring justice for our neighbors. This is a travesty that our neighborhoods are being turned into party houses. I've talked to several voters that are very upset. They can't even have a peaceful night without partiers and escort buses. Yes, sex trafficking is coming over into our cities, and it's right here in our neighborhoods in South Scottsdale specifically. But it's all over the state, and so I'm happy that the Senate has introduced this bill, and I'm hoping that this passes our legislature. Thank you.
If I could ask a quick follow-up, what is in that bill?
Excuse me?
Just, you talked about SB 1168. I was wondering what some of the things that Nancy proposed.
It's a strong bill that needs to pass this session, penalizing offenders and quickly removing their ability to do business if they refuse to respect the law and their neighbors. It passed the Senate with 22 votes and awaits the House vote right now, and the amendment details are being finalized right now. The party pads would penalize the owners. It would penalize those that would not comply with the law. So I do think the state needs to do something and work with our cities. And it's a big problem here, all over Arizona, but especially it's coming into our city here in Scottsdale.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Graham, go ahead.
Thank you. The short-term rental problem it's taken probably 4,000 or 5,000 of our precious housing units away from us in Scottsdale. It's turned our population into one that's more transient. The overrule from the state legislature for disallowing cities and municipalities to regulate their short-term rentals, it adversely affects tourism-centric communities like Scottsdale, Sedona, Paradise Valley. I mean, Maryvale and Laveen are great places, but they don't have the problem that we have with short-term rentals. And so it's something that's adversely affected us. I've seen it in my own neighborhood every year. You've got LLCs they do a simple cash flow analysis. They know how many days they have to rent it out, dynamic pricing, and then they go in and scoop up our housing. Every year in my neighborhood, I feel like we have fewer and fewer Christmas lights because these many hotels don't put up Christmas lights. And I think you can argue that it's hollowing out some of our neighborhoods. So we need to vigorously enforce the short-term rentals and press the state legislature to give us some of the power back. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Isaac.
The state doing this was a disgraceful example of government overreach. And unfortunately, as some of my fellow candidates have mentioned, it has hurt Scottsdale. The state claimed that it was to protect tourism, but actually what it's done is exacerbate the housing crisis. Mr. Graham is correct that it's taken thousands of units out of our housing supply, and it's created problems within our neighborhoods. And it's going to get worse at this next high season, compounded with the Super Bowl. So yes, our hands are largely tied, but what the city can do is two things. One, fully fund the short-term rental task force on the police so that they can be in the neighborhoods enforcing the rules. And second, we need to work with other municipalities to push back on our state legislature to tell them that it was wrong what they did and understand the consequences. And you as residents can do two things as well. Call the non-emergency police line when there are bad actors and get the police to close it down. And then also you need to go to your legislature and demand that this law be overturned. It is bad for the state.
Thank you. Ms. Littlefield?
Thank you. I agree with all that you said. This is part of why we have a short-term rental or short-term problem in our housing market. Short-term rentals take up the housing, which is the normal flow and turnover of housing in any area, and they take it up for short-term rentals, so it's not available for people to buy. It causes a shortage, causes the prices to go up. That's not good. Part of the new budget for police and fire, which we are looking at, when people said they didn't want it raised, but it's for this police task force to go in and to look at the problems that the STRs are having when they're recorded, and they go in and try and find the problems. It's a task force for watching and controlling the STRs. This is what citizens have said they want to see, and this is what we're providing. The homes, we've done a number of things that the city can do, and a couple of them are we've made it illegal for these houses to be anything other than rentals for overnights. Can't use them for a restaurant or anything other commercial development, and it has to have a license. And because that license has to be shown when the house is marketed, our police have found over 1,000 unregistered STRs in Scottsdale, and they are going to use this new police project that we're putting together for this next budget to go out and make sure they get licensed and we can watch them.
Thank you. Mr. Stratton?
Thank you. With respect to the short-term housing crisis, I would call it, I agree with everything that my fellow panelists have said up here. And I would also like to expand on the fact that in addition to all of the other disruptive forces that the short-term rentals are creating, it's taking money and revenue away from our legitimate hotel and resort businesses. Kathy, would you mind turning off your mic? Yeah, thank you. And so in terms of what we can do, everything that's been spoken of is great, but I want to know what took so long. Why did it take years to address this problem? The short-term rental task force is great. We should have been on top of this from the very beginning. My law firm does a number of municipal representations across the state. We work with other communities, such as Paradise Valley, who has been really a leader. I want Scottsdale to be the leader. We should have been the leader on this. We should have gone out and aggressively prosecuted these folks under the laws that were currently on the books, such as the noise restrictions, occupancy. We need to shut these places down and take back control of our neighborhoods, and I'll do that on council.
Thank you. Our next question is about economic development, and I'm going to start with Barry Graham. In terms of economic development, what is the city's role in attracting and retaining businesses and their tax revenue? Do you think the city is currently doing a good job of this?
Thanks, Melissa. So the question about attracting and retaining businesses, what I will say is that that Scottsdale has been very successful in attracting businesses. I think we see that many businesses want to move here. Not a lot of people, it's not common knowledge, but the highest concentration of jobs in Maricopa County and the state is in our Air Park District. If you think about all the traffic that's flowing eastward on the 101 in the morning up north, and all the traffic that's flowing north on the 101 towards the Scottsdale Air Park, I think we've done a fantastic job as far as attracting and retaining businesses. I don't think, though, that we should, in an over-eagerness to be to accommodate businesses, we should sacrifice the formula that got us here. There's a temptation to do that, but you need to elect somebody on city council who has the resolve to keep Scottsdale's character and to protect it for your quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Isaac?
Were you going to call on me?
No, I was going to go down to the left.
So driving our economy forward is vital to making sure we have the services and the low taxes. And tourism is one of the backbones of our city. It brings $2 billion into our economy. It funds approximately 25% of our sales tax revenue. And we must continue to encourage and boost our tourism. But that's not going to be enough. We must continue to be attractive to other businesses. My company helped corporations determine what cities and location to start business. And that whole site selection consulting was built around all of the different factors. And Scottsdale has so many of those factors for us. We have a good infrastructure. We've got good property values. We're in a metropolitan area near an airport. But what we can do better, decrease regulation so that it's easier for businesses to come. We also have to make sure we have housing, because if employers do not believe their employees can find housing, they're going to pick somewhere else. And lastly, and just as important, educational quality is crucial to attracting new businesses to our economy. Diversification and strength.
Thank you. Ms. Littlefield?
I'm not sure what the question was, but I will answer anyway. Yes, I would. Thank you.
Okay. It is, in terms of economic development, what is the city's role in attracting and retaining businesses and their tax revenue? And do you think the city is currently doing a good job of this?
Okay. Development in Scottsdale is vital to our ongoing success as a city, but we have to have the things in place that the businesses are looking for. Our economic development department here in Scottsdale does a great job, but we need to make sure we have the housing that people need if they want to come here to Scottsdale to work. This is a crucial one-time thing that we need to have. We need to have the facilities and the infrastructure in Scottsdale that these businesses need. We have not had a problem attracting businesses. There are a lot of businesses that want to come, but the issues are, do they want to live here? Do they want to shop here? And do they want to raise their children and go to our public schools here? And those are areas that the city should work on, I believe. We have the infrastructure in place for water, sewer, all of those good things, but we need to ensure that the housing is there for people who want to live here, and we need to ensure that it's not being taken up by STRs or by apartments. People who want to build large businesses here don't want to live in small one-bedroom apartments. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stratton?
Well, first, I'm glad to hear Kathy say that she thinks that we need more housing. I couldn't agree more. And I think that we cannot take Scottsdale for granted. The city absolutely has a role to play in economic development and recruiting businesses to the city. We can do more to foster business by having business-friendly and resident-friendly policies. You know, we have a lot of vacant shopping centers, old strip malls, big box stores. I mean, how many of you can see the old shuttered, Fry's or Safeway shopping centers at certain locations like Frank Lloyd Wright in Via Linda, 101 and Frank Lloyd Wright at the Target Plaza? The list goes on and on. We need to have a council that's willing to engage in the debate over redevelopment of those parcels and allow for modern, common sense, smaller footprint retail to go in. That's the trend. We cannot force people into these large big boxes. We're going to get more vacancies. Vacant properties mean less tax dollars coming into the city, which means we have to cut services or raise your taxes. I don't want to do either one of those things. Let's attract more business to Scottsdale.
Thank you.
I just want to quickly address short-term rentals. There are no bills in the legislature today that will restore local control or give us meaningful abilities to control the problem. And if we break state laws, that might sound good, but it'll cost the city 25% of our revenue. So we don't have a choice to just go break state laws. So our economy, thanks to my predecessors and continuing efforts, has been diversified immensely, and we receive awards all the time. We have the Cure Quarter. We received an award for being the most attractive city for startups. What our people want is what Scottsdale has always traditionally given: quality of life, safe neighborhoods, places to play, and things to do. So we have to maintain those things, and we will continue to attract those good companies. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Zubia?
The short answer to your question is yes, the city does have to play a role. Like all of us in this room, we chose Scottsdale because of its high quality of life. We chose it because of its low taxes. We chose it possibly because you wanted to raise your family here and have them attend the public schools. We must continue that, and we must find ways for businesses to get here. Housing is one of those ways. Yes, we have a lot of short-term rentals, but we also have ways to have families move here through multifamily units that will allow them to live and work in the same city. Right now, what is it, 180,000 per day are coming into Scottsdale to work, and then they have to go back home. Well, now they're spending their money in the city they live in, which is lowering our tax revenue. So we have to find ways to be able to keep them here so that they work, live, and play here. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Carter?
No. Okay. Well, I was a business owner. I think I'm the only one here that actually owned a business right here in Scottsdale. And I onboarded employees. I managed production crews. We had community program where we brought in the community. So yes, I do believe that as the station manager of KPAZ Television, I was able to reach out to the community, feed the poor, and reach out in the community. So I think businesses and business owners are vital to our growth here in Scottsdale, as well as reaching out into our communities to help those that are in need. And I'm pro-business. I want businesses to move here because I think that is the backbone. Tourism, I think, is the backbone of our city. People come here from all over the world. It's a world-class destination for visitors every single year. But I think, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Our next question is going to be about downtown Scottsdale, and I'm going to start with you, Mr. Isaac. What is your vision for the future of downtown Scottsdale, and how do you propose achieving that vision?
So downtown is a broad term, and I think we need to differentiate between our old historic part and the rest of downtown. And our old historic part is important. It is part of our culture. It is one of the attractions of our city, and we have to make sure we retain that aspect of our history. And so we should not be looking for high density or tall buildings in that area. And we must continue to do things to support our history and culture, like the Parada del Sol and Western Week and our Museum of the West and things like that. But the rest of downtown is not necessarily historic, and so I want to make sure that it's thriving, it's easily accessible by car or by pedestrian or by bike. We have to make sure that there is an energy in our downtown to sustain our businesses, add to our tax coffers, and actually make it a destination in and of itself, along with the other parts of Scottsdale, such as the Preserve and all of the events that we have. Our downtown is beautiful. It needs to stay beautiful. There are areas that can support some additional development, and there are areas that should not be touched, other than making sure that they're kept up. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to mix it up a little bit and go to the right now, so it'll be Mr. Graham's turn.
Think on my feet here. So thanks, Melissa. The downtown, so I'm talking more broadly about the downtown. We all agree the old town is a sliver of downtown. It should be preserved. The downtown is, we have a one-of-a-kind downtown, and it brings so many tourists and it brings so many visitors, and yet we keep doing things that harm our downtown. We are taking away parking spots. We are, they want to replace, there's discussions of replacing lots of parking with bike lanes that may not go anywhere important. So we really need to remember what makes our downtown special. Bike lanes are great when they can coexist with parking and with the normal flow of traffic. But we expect people to drive downtown. I expect people to drive downtown, shop. I don't expect somebody to get on a bike and go to an art gallery and carry a piece of art home on their bike. So we need to do things to protect our downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Carter?
Well, what kind of city do you want to live in? What do you want? And that's what I'm wanting to ask the voters. I want to know, what kind of city do you want to live in? We have elderly, we have handicapped people. How are they going to get around on a bike? I understand that a lot of the council and the city planning commission wants us to walk and bike everywhere. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody has that kind of robust health. So I do think, I love the outdoors. I was in the fitness industry. I love to work out, I love to hike, I love to bike. But that is, in Scottsdale, that's a recreational activity. You shouldn't have to be biking everywhere. We need to, and instead of narrowing Hayden like is being proposed, I think that is a mistake. Hayden was a beautiful boulevard. It is one way of getting through our city without a lot of traffic. People are complaining about the traffic. And I believe that we need to keep our city beautiful, safe, without all the high-rises blocking everything and creating traffic jams. What are we going to do when the city is building all these projects, roundabouts, and everything? It's going to stop the growth of businesses, people not being able to travel in a car. So that's my view.
Thank you. Mr. Zubia?
This Old Town area, or downtown area, whatever you want to call it, the Old Town area that is the tourist attraction, I think should be left alone. It is what people come here to see. It is one of the tourist attractions we have here in Scottsdale. However, we can still, on the outlying areas, going south from there and a little bit north from there, and we could still build in ways that allows for more people to live in the downtown area. And although some cannot ride, bike, walk, that is not the purpose of the downtown. It's a way to get people downtown, get them out of their cars, and get them walking, biking downtown to explore the downtown area. So I think we can still find a way to create more vibrancy down there without disturbing what we are known as, and that's that little downtown, Old Town area. Thank you.
Thank you. So historic downtown is protected. I was elected to prevent bad development, not delay it, and nowhere does that matter more than downtown. So Scottsdale has an internationally recognized brand, and it's our bread and butter, and it brings tourism from all over the world. So we have to protect that, and we have to have lower buildings, higher design, bigger skies, more open space, pedestrian connectivity, and art and parks. This is what we're hearing directly from our residents and from our tourism. But on the flip side, blight, like high-rises, are also an immense danger. They will destroy our economy and our brand from the inside out. These blighted, vacant buildings must be replaced, and I have a good track record doing just that. We've put mid-rises with pedestrian paths. We've protected historic buildings, and we've increased the value of downtown. So it's a track record I'm proud of, and will continue to make sure we remain vibrant and attractive to tourism and residents alike. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stratton?
Yeah, so with respect to Old Town, as fellow candidates have said, we've got to protect that. That is something historic and worth saving. Again, with respect to the rest of downtown, we've got to be innovative, and we've got to change with the times, and we've got to make sure that what we're building is reflective of what the market wants, and we need to drive more pedestrian traffic to our downtown. Again, nothing is more resident or business friendly than having more customers come downtown. And how do we do that? We make downtown great again. We enhance our pedestrian connectivity. We enhance our bike connectivity. We provide more parking so people can drive down or drive in from their hotels or resorts, park their car, get out, walk around in a tree canopied, friendly, cool downtown area. We've got some very neat storefronts, very neat offerings downtown. I want to see that expanded, and I want to see downtown really become a true economic engine that drives the city, and we can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we need to protect our downtown, Old Town area. This is world-renowned, and it brings people from all over the world to come to Scottsdale and see our beautiful area down there. We need to protect the access and deny development that will keep people, or will keep us from keeping the quality of what we have down there for a tourist attraction. People want to drive there. I've heard this time and time again. They want to drive there, they want to have parking that's near where they want to go shopping, and they want to have it available whenever they want to get there. They don't want to ride their bikes. I'm sorry. The people who want to go to the downtown area, they want wide roads, adequate roads, they want parking nearby, they want signage to show them where they need to go, they want lighting so that they aren't in the dark at night when they're walking down the streets, and they want clean and inviting areas where they feel comfortable to shop and to be in at all times when the stores are open. Those are the things that we need to concentrate on. Thank you.
Thank you. We will do 2 more of my questions, and then we'll move into audience questions. Okay. What was the question I was going to ask? Okay. We'll start with Mr. Zubia this time. We haven't started with you yet. What are you most concerned about for Scottsdale in the coming years that will need to be addressed during your potential term, and how will you address it?
Well, in a word, housing. As I had mentioned earlier, people want to move here, people want to live here. People work here, but have to go elsewhere to live. We need to find a way that creates a sustainable way to keep our economy, keep our city growing. Housing is one of those ways. We have to find a way that we can still create good housing, what the market wants, and that is attractive so that it just doesn't look like a bunch of bricks and mortar stuck in been thrown up. So we still need to look at housing. We still need to find ways that we can keep the quality of life that we have so that our taxes are low, so that the amenities continue, so that we can continue to enjoy the lifestyle that we have. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Carter?
What was the question again?
What are you most concerned about for Scottsdale in the coming years that will need to be addressed during your potential term, and how will you address it?
Well, for one thing, this is why I jumped in the race, is because I am a native, born and raised in Arizona, and went to school here in the Scottsdale area, and my daughter was born in Scottsdale. So that's why I jumped in the race, because I saw the changes that I grew up with, these wide open spaces and the beauty and the lifestyle, the safe neighborhoods, and I saw a change in my city. And I call this my city. I own it because I've lived here. I own property here. My family were native Arizonans, and I love this city, and I want to see it remain. I think we do need to upgrade downtown, but in a sensible way that promotes the flow of what I grew up with here and what many of our residents are complaining about. The high-density apartment buildings being built all over the city, I'm not in agreement with that. So I would work with developers to develop sensible, beautiful areas no higher than what our city code already recommends, which is 25 to 36 feet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Cream?
Thank you, Melissa. So there's a few concerns that we need to be cognizant of. The biggest, I think, is what we do. It's really the path that we choose as a city going forward. We've got some 10,000 apartments in the pipeline approved, coming to your neighborhoods that no one can do much about. And apartment lobbyists are promoting 50,000 more in Scottsdale. We have a winning formula where our tourism brings so many people here and keeps our taxes low and keeps our services good and high. And we don't want to harm the winning formula that what has brought so many of you to this city. I think that the housing is the biggest one, in addition to short-term rentals, and then also to crime and homelessness in our city. We need to make sure that we're a tourism city, so we need to make sure that we keep our city a place that people want to visit. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really hope there's going to be a follow-up question on housing because we need to get through some of this nonsense that's being stated. But to your specific question, my platform is based on three key principles, and that's strength, sustainability, and security. But if I had to pick one, which is what your question asked, and I'm going to answer that, it is our financial strength. Anybody who doesn't realize that this city and the entire country is faced with strong economic headwinds is missing the forest for the trees. And if we do not maintain our financial strength, we cannot invest in sustainability, we cannot remain secure. And if we can't do any of those things, that means we're less attractive to tourists. Our revenues decrease, your services decrease, the amenities disappear, or your taxes go up. The number one issue facing our municipality is maintaining our economic strength, and we must do everything we can to support it, diversify it, secure it. That's what we need to be focused on. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Littlefield?
Thank you. I think we cannot destroy that which we are and that which we have. Multifamily projects require an upzoning. Citizens depend on the zoning in their neighborhoods for their homes, the quality of life that they purchased when they bought here, and to keep that quality of life into the future. We represent, as a council, the citizens. Others come to Scottsdale, developers and others, who want to build, who want to develop, who want to do different things, but they need to get upzonings, usually, because the zoning in the city is for a protection for those people who have spent their money, bought their homes, live here, and expect the city to protect them. That is what we do. Now, is there any reason why we would ever want to upzone something? Of course there is. It's not a static thing. But the purpose of the upzone should not be to destroy neighborhoods, nor should the effect of any upzone be to destroy neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stratton?
Thank you. In my view, the number one issue facing Scottsdale in the future is losing our competitive advantage. Scottsdale is a great city. I think everybody can agree on that point. But how did we get to be a great city? We got to be a great city by visionary leadership, by folks taking the time to build great projects like Westworld, to develop things like the Air Park, the Green Belt, all the things that make Scottsdale special. Where is that next generation of leadership going to come from? It's going to come from council members like myself who have an economic vision for the future of Scottsdale. You know, many people forget landowners and a lot of the Scottsdale business owners are residents too, and they deserve a voice as well. They toil away and put people in jobs, they pay salaries, they are business owners. There is nothing more resident friendly than having a positive, successful business economy. We have to make sure that Scottsdale does not lose our competitive advantage. We're not the only game in the valley. We have other municipalities that are chasing after us, and we need to make sure that Scottsdale stays number one. And I will do that. Thank you.
Okay, water, short-term rentals, and overdevelopment. And if we solve short-term rentals, we can also solve overdevelopment. So on water, the future of our water will no longer be just the Colorado River. And our best new sources of water are conservation and recycling. Scottsdale has invested in both for decades, and we have to do more, and policies that I've approved are doing more. We're taking sewage and turning it into drinking water and replenishing our aquifers. We've taken toxic groundwater, and we're now pumping it into homes as drinking water. And we are taking big steps, working with the big users to reduce their usage of water and save them money. We have to do more than be successful at the city level. We are an international leader on water, and we have to bring that leadership to the state. We need everybody in the state to do the types of, to make the types of investments we're making in order to have a safe and secure water future. On short-term rentals, it is 4,000 homes no longer available, and so we need to rein that in, and then we can build development that matches Scottsdale's style and character. Thank you.
Thank you. And then this time I'm going to start with Ms. Carter. The City Council recently discussed the potential of asking voters to replace the first preserve tax, which expires in 2025. What are your thoughts about replacing the tax and what might get funded?
Well, number one, I'm a fiscal conservative, and I believe we need to stay within our budget and within our means. And I agree with one of the, I don't remember which candidate said that we need to utilize the funds that we have. I don't believe we should be raising any kind of tax or promoting any kind of tax. If the voters want that, I'm in favor of it. But as for me, I'm a fiscal conservative, and I want to stay within our budget and maintain what we have and put our money into bettering those areas that need upgrading, not just gratuitously spending our budget because we have it. So I would lean more toward no, but if the voters want that, it should go to a vote. That's my viewpoint. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Graham?
Oh, switching back the other direction? Well, I think that what we have, there's been a tax, a sales tax, and it's going to expire. And so if the voters want to extend it for any particular reason, I support that. But I think what we do with the corpus of those dollars is protect and invest in the trailheads and the maintenance of our preserve. Our preserve is our best, most important asset of the city. And we should, fiscal conservative as well, and I believe we should not be spending excessively, so we should be careful and watch our dollars. Thank you.
Thank you.
What a great and forward-thinking thing it was for our residents to actually say, yes, take my money and buy land and set it aside. It's created the preserve, which is one of the jewels of Scottsdale. It was insightful, visionary. It was a great thing. That tax is about to expire. We've purchased the preserve. We don't need to extend it to expand the preserve, especially when the per acre cost is 10 times what it was with the original purchase, and that will only provide marginal, if anything, expansion of the preserve. So as my other candidates have said, it is up to the voters. It is their money, and they get to decide what to do with it. I personally do not think we extend a tax just because it's currently in place and we're used to it, especially with the increased costs by the existing inflation. I'd rather people take that money and invest in other businesses. Now, if there are other things that the city thinks are of crucial importance, then again, we put that to the voters. But we shouldn't extend it just because we currently have it. We shouldn't buy additional land in the preserve if it's 10 times the cost. And we have leftover money, tens of millions of dollars from the tax, and we should use that, as Mr. Graham mentioned, to preserve and maintain the preserve going forward. But again, the voters have to decide that.
Thank you. Ms. Littlefield?
Yes, this is something the council is looking at currently, and I'll give you my opinion of it. What's looking at is the bond issue that originally was approved by the voters can be used only to buy preserved land. That was part of the deal when the voters approved it. So that money that comes into us, if we want to use it as it is now, can only be used for preserved land. To do otherwise would be a violation of their trust. But the bond ends in 2025. And at that time, they anticipate, our treasurer has told us she anticipates, after we pay off the debt of the bonds, that there will be about a $38 million overage that will be sitting there that we can't spend for anything but land. So what I would like to do is say, okay, citizens, we're paying off the bond is in, we're going to pay off all the interest, but we have $38 million sitting there that we can't spend for anything but land. Will you give us permission to use it, to put it into an annuity, to protect and to keep our preserve pristine, for maintenance of the preserve? That is what we're asking for, and I support that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with Kathy 100% on that in terms of setting up a annuity, a trust fund, if you will, for the maintenance of the preserve with the corpus of those dollars. That makes tremendous financial sense. What doesn't make sense is to go out and go on a spending spree and raise taxes and ask the voters for more money to acquire marginal pieces of property in the preserve. I love the preserve. It brings thousands of people to Scottsdale. We need to maintain it so it doesn't burn down in a wildfire. If many of you saw the newspaper article just this week, it's a tinderbox up there. We need to spend more money to clean things out. We need to aggressively go after the brush and the dead scrub that's up there and really make sure that we're protecting the preserve. Nothing's more important than protecting the preserve, and we do that by setting up money so the city can help finance the protection of the preserve, not go on a spending spree and acquire more land. That's not what we need. Thank you.
So, of course, I think the voters should decide, and I've got a long track record that proves that to be true. The preserve and the green belt were created at the ballot box, and every major decision pertaining to those assets were done at the ballot box. This is not about buying land, and there is no $38 million sitting in a bank account somewhere. That's money that might flow in. So we have a tried and true process, bringing in citizens together, talking about the needs of the preserve, and letting voters decide. The money that would come from the new tax would be to create a perpetual maintenance fund. We know that today our saguaro deserts are actually threatened for extinction by fire. We have maintenance issues both in the green belt and in the preserve. So the new tax would not be just the preserve. It would not be land acquisition. It could be, but it's also the green belt and our parks. And voters, I trust voters. We have a committee set up to discuss what issues we need, and at the end of the day, they'll decide. Thank you.
So, yeah, I'm not a proponent of raising taxes. We have a nice reserve already. Let's use that for the maintenance of the preserve. But let's go to the voters and say, hey, do you mind extending this? And if they say yes, I think we should, since all the citizens are paying that tax, we should find ways that benefits everyone. Let's look at public safety. Public safety really needs our dollars. Let's look at maintaining the other parks throughout the city that touches every citizen in some way. Those are ways that you could use the tax money while that reserve is being used to maintain the preserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move into audience questions now, and we got a lot of really good ones, and so we'll likely only get through a couple, but thank you to everyone who submitted their questions because I really appreciate your interest in our forum. Who is Solange? Are you the only one I didn't start with yet? Have I started with you? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, I'm going to start with you then for this question, and we got so many good ones. Okay. What and when is your determination of what full build-out is within the city?
That's a good question. So build-out is never complete in the sense that we will always have buildings that are no longer occupied, no longer functioning, and will need infill. So right now, last night, we approved a very cool car storage place, and you will never find it. It is such a nook of a location, and we do have a need for car storage. So we will continue to build in the city, but it'll be infill, and it'll have to meet and exceed our design guidelines and add value to our community. And I always look for open space too, but not for that nook. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zubia?
If by build out you mean single-family residence, I think we are there. I think that we don't have room for large subdivisions to bring in the hundreds of homes that we're used to having when I was growing up and when many of you were moving here. So I think we're at the build-out stage. I think that we do need to find other ways to be able to accommodate those who, like ourselves, chose this city because we love this city and that we wanted to move here. Some of us came here on vacation, decided later on, this is where I want to retire, this is where I want to live. We need to find ways to get those people to live here, and we also need to find ways to get our workers to live here. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Carter?
I think that we probably are at a point where building more homes, we are limited. We only have so much land space. I do think, though, there are affordable homes for sale here in the valley. In fact, I was out doing some research. There are 53 homes right now on the market that can be used for housing under 400,000. Now, for some people that's affordable, for some people it's not. But I do think that we need to look at other ways to build, maybe on smaller parcels. That could be an option. I don't know, but I do believe working with the home builders for residential builds or condos is another way of going. So people have skin in the game. We have people who just want affordable housing. Well, I believe we need to have those people who want to live here and purchase a home. So I'm in favor of that. But I do think that there is an issue with land.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have a hard and fast definition of build-out for Scottsdale. What I will say is that when projects come before council, like they did when I was on Planning Commission, I think that the projects need to be superior quality for Scottsdale, and I think that they need to reflect the character of Scottsdale. And those factors include whether a project is appropriate for a particular area in Scottsdale. We've got some 10,000 units already in the pipeline approved coming to your neighborhoods, and the apartment lobbyists want to say we need 50,000 more. So I'm not on board with that, and I don't think that we can let everybody who wants to live in Scottsdale, because I think if we did, we would lose Scottsdale. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, build-out is a somewhat subjective term. It is hard to imagine many more large subdivisions being built because we are land constrained. But I'm actually going to diverge now because twice we've heard 10,000, and I'm going to read, I'm sorry for the glasses. As of June 17th, memo from the city staff and confirmed by nationally renowned economist Elliot Pollack, there are 3,100 units currently under construction, but that actually includes 1,900 actually that have actually been delivered. So really only 2,200 are under construction. The rest of that pipeline that people keep talking about includes 1,600 that haven't even been submitted to the first step of the approval process. So no, they are not approved. They are not in the pipeline. And several others are very old, dating back to 2016, and most likely won't be built. Friends, Scottsdale has 140,000 residential units. If all 8,000 that are technically in the pipeline are built over the next 5 to 10 years, that's adding 1,000 per year. That's 1% growth. That is not developers gone wild. That is sustainability, and that is what is going to help our economy. Thank you.
Do I get to reply
Sure.
to that?
Yeah.
Thanks, Melissa. What I will say about that number is that some 10,000 are approved and in the pipeline. The pipeline is actually bigger than that if you count the projects that need additional levels of improvement. Those aren't my numbers; those come directly from the city. And the city has this. This is factual. The city has confirmed that the over 9,100 units is an incomplete list. There are still big projects that they have confessed or they have confirmed are not on that list, and it also doesn't include many projects that are under 50 units. So for all we know, it's much larger. Thank you.
Thank you.
The data's right here. Please stop by after the meeting, and I will walk through all of it. And we can't talk about what could be. I mean, I make New Year's resolutions that I break each year. Just because somebody thinks that they might be interested in building something doesn't mean that they are. Facts are facts. This is the data.
Thank you. Ms. Littlefield?
Thank you. Well, I got the same information from the city and the same numbers that Mr. Graham got, and I believe that those are the current numbers. They also do not include any approved buildings that are under 50 units apiece, so that's actually a little short, but there's 11,000 according to that sheet. But regardless of that, whether they're built or not built, the question was about build-out, right? I think that most of the land in Scottsdale at this point in time that's just available for a person to come out and look at is going to be infill land. And that's a lot of the projects that we're seeing today. And they have been approved several times to take older buildings and replace them with newer, more updated ones. That's fine. That's something that I look at very carefully and very seriously, and I have voted for many of them, surprise, surprise. I would like to see buildings focus on condos rather than apartments, because I would like to see people be able to buy here, have skin in the game, and have a vested interest in how Scottsdale goes and proceeds and maintains itself into the future. And right now, the rentals primarily, our police, our fire, our teachers, our nurses, they can't afford the rents. They can't afford these apartments that everybody's building. So, unless they go in groups and split it, that's what they have to do. Or, and they also have no price no price stability there.
Thank you.
The owners can raise the rents.
Thank you. Mr. Stratton.
Thank you. In a mature community like Scottsdale, we reached the point in our evolution, right, where we are pretty much fully built out. So our build out, so to speak, is never going to be complete, because we're going to be constantly having to go back and renew and refresh the older projects and the older developments in town. That's needed and that's necessary. That's our lifeblood. We need to keep making sure that Scottsdale stays relevant, and part of the way that we do that is by encouraging redevelopment of old, obsolete sites and hold those sites to high quality. I've heard apartments bandied about here talking about putting 10,000, 8,000, whatever, into the pipeline and into neighborhoods. Nobody's talking about putting apartments in neighborhoods. I don't want apartments in neighborhoods. I want apartments where apartments belong, where multifamily belongs, on the periphery, on the edges. And so that is where things go. Scottsdale is blessed in some cases, and we're cursed in others. We're blessed because we have 33-mile boundary from north to south. That's a tremendous amount of land area. We're also cursed because a lot of our buildable area is protected by the preserve. So we're a victim of our own success. The preserve is great, but it does reduce our land area. So we have to be innovative. We have to put quality development where quality development should go. And by the way, when did the city get in the business of telling people that they should rent versus own versus rent? That's big government in your life. I don't want that. If you want to rent, if you want to have a lock and leave lifestyle, if you're a senior that doesn't want to maintain your home, if you are a young professional who just doesn't want the upkeep and the maintenance of the house, if you want to stay in Scottsdale, there are few options for older residents to stay here in a rental type situation. Owning's great, but it's not for everybody. A lot of empty nesters, young professionals, they don't want that anymore. We have to reflect what the market wants, not what our own personal beliefs and prejudices are in terms of housing. And so I believe in the free market. I believe people will live where people want to live.
Thank you. I wanted to let you finish your thought, but it was a long one.
Sure, thank you.
All right. This is kind of a yes or no question, but if you feel you want to explain, then that's fine too. We'll start with Raul and then just go down the line. Some of you have gone on record to say the 2020 election was stolen. Do you believe it was stolen?
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
No, I don't, but it's not really a city issue, and I'm not really up on it. So, but I do trust our processes in this country, and I trust the Maricopa County and the state processes to counter votes. So thank you.
Thank you.
No, I don't believe that the election was stolen. I do think that there were isolated incidences of fraud, like there are in every case, in almost every election. There are some bad actors out there. But was the election stolen? No, I don't believe so.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if it was or not. I don't think it was, but I know that there have been cases found where there was fraud and there was things that happened that shouldn't have happened.
I think in every election there's a certain amount of fraud, and we should take steps to minimize that and prevent it. Legitimate voters should be able to vote easily. People who aren't registered should not be able to vote. This last election, I do not believe that the level of fraud rose to the level that it would have changed the results.
I'm more focused on city issues, to be frank. That's not a city issue whatsoever, but I think that, I'm not, it's a city issue thing, so thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear his answer. Was it a yes or a no?
None of us heard his answer.
I think that we do need voter integrity laws passed, because I do think every voter deserves a vote, one vote per person on one day. I don't know if that's doable, but I do believe that I'm a strong proponent in voter integrity, and I think that needs to be upgraded in our elections. But again, it's not a city issue. Thank you.
Melissa, can I get a rebuttal?
Sure.
Okay, what I will say about election is that I think it should be harder to cheat and easier to vote. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Littlefield, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, you know, I worked the election polls for years and years before I ever became involved in city government or that kind of thing. And it is very possible to achieve integrity and security in our election process. It just needs to be done. It needs to be focused on. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. We are just about out of time, so we're going to move into closing remarks, and I'll give everyone 45 seconds for their remarks because we are on a tight schedule here at City Hall. So let's go ahead and start with, I don't know. We'll start with Kathy. Go ahead and do.
Thank you. I'm Kathy Littlefield, and I'm running for a third term on Scottsdale City Council. Scottsdale is my home. I'm a Scottsdale native. I grew up here, I went to school here, and I hope to continue to work for you on council to keep our city special and to keep our quality of life high. My focus is to protect Scottsdale's special interests and character and high quality of life from the special interests who seek to exploit it at your expense for personal gain. I am not afraid to say no when necessary, nor am I afraid to say yes when the projects are beneficial to both the city and the citizens. People who know me know I will stay true to my word, and that is why both the police and fire have endorsed me, as well as COGS. I am here today to ask for your endorsement and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stratton?
Thank you. My name is Tim Stratton. I'm running for City Council, and I'm asking for your vote. Scottsdale needs a city council member who understands finance and will make finance and budgeting decisions a priority on council. I'm that candidate. I have more municipal finance experience than anyone sitting on the dais. I represent cities and towns across the United States on municipal budget and finance issues. I understand public pensions. We didn't talk about the pension issues, but we have some really significant pension issues with our police and fire that need to be addressed. I want to be a good steward of taxpayer dollars. I want to make sure Scottsdale continues to grow with high quality development that benefits and adds to the economy, not take away from our economy. I want to make sure that we're spending your dollars and your family's dollars wisely to make sure that Scottsdale has all the great amenities that we love: public safety, police, fire, good restaurants, a good quality of life. And so I'm asking for your vote in the upcoming primary election. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi. I often get asked, so what's next for you, as if this is some sort of stepping stone. I'm not here to build a political resume. I'm here to build a better community, to build a better Scottsdale. Cities really matter, and a well-run city can deliver more for less and make people happier too. Every day, I work to improve the lives of those that live here and to make Scottsdale better than it was the day before. And our successes positively impact people far beyond our borders. Scottsdale is an internationally recognized brand and a leader. When we set the bar very high, cities in Arizona and around the globe follow. So yes, we face daunting challenges. We've had 4 years of successes, and I'm enthusiastically running to continue to deliver for Scottsdale. And I also want to thank the police, the fire for their endorsements, and the Coalition of Greater Scottsdale, Scottsdale's only citizen watchdog group. Thank you.
Thank you.
As you know, I am Raul Zubia, and I too am running for City Council. You heard me say in my introduction that I'm the only resident, or the only candidate who lives, born, raised, and still lives in the same neighborhood. I am also the only, well, let me rephrase that. If elected, I will be the only candidate that lives south of Shea. We haven't had somebody from South Scottsdale in almost 20 years sitting on council. I think it's time that the southern part of the city be heard. They are not being heard. They tell me all the time they feel as though they are being left out of the decisions. my job will be to listen to those citizens, to listen to all citizens, because even though I was born and raised, live in South Scottsdale, I am a councilman for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Carter?
Actually, I do live south of Shea, and I am a native Arizonan, but I want to ask a question to our citizens and our voters. What are your core values? That's what I'm running on, my core values. I love this city. I love family, relationships, and community involvement. I will be a councilwoman who listens to you, who is here for you. I love the people of Scottsdale. This is about the people. This isn't about me running for office. This is about the core values that made our nation great. The American values, the Arizonan that I grew up in. I was a native here. I think I'm one of the few that's a native besides Raul down there. But so I will fight for the core values that I grew up with. Hard work. I owned my first home when I was 21. I owned my second home by the time I was 23 by working and earning the right to own a home. I think we need to return to our values that founded our nation of hard work and community involvement and loving our neighbor as ourselves. Those are my core values, and I am a lover of God, and I'm not ashamed of it. Thank you. Vote for me, Pamela Carter, for Scottsdale City Council. Go to PamelaCarter.com for more information.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I want to thank everyone in attendance. I want to thank the sponsors and panelists. I want to thank those watching online. I want to thank everyone for being here because this is about your city. It's about your quality of life. It's about your tax dollars. I am the only non-incumbent candidate here who has voted on the most critical issues over the past 10 years. And during this campaign, I've met and communicated with thousands of residents, and I agree with them when they overwhelmingly tell me that protecting our city's character is paramount to preserving their quality of life, to expanding the economy, and to attracting visitors. So I ask for your vote to continue my commitment to encourage and respect more citizen input. Please visit BarryGrahamResidenceFirst.com. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Some of you heard me say that I made my first trip to Scottsdale 20 years ago, and I kept coming back. And 10 years ago, I knew this is where I wanted to be. And you might have also heard me mention that Scottsdale didn't just happen. It was created by the forward-thinking and visionary men and women in our history who made Scottsdale great. It was that Scottsdale, that spirit of Scottsdale, that we must keep alive. I'm going to use the same discipline and skills I had as a business leader to manage our long-term financials, to identify new opportunities, and to collaborate with interested parties. And of course, I will make decisions based on facts and data and resident input. And by the way, I'll answer your question even if I don't think you're going to like my answer. Together, we can maintain our financial strength, achieve sustainability, and enhance our security. Together, we will make Scottsdale even greater than it is today. I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That concludes our candidate forum for today. As a reminder, the primary election is on, what? I thought I started with Kathy.
August 2nd.
Okay. That's okay. I was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, so the primary election is Tuesday, August 2nd. If you get mailed ballots, those will be coming around in July. And thank you all for being here. Thank you to the audience for being here. Again, thank you to the city for allowing us to use this as a forum. And I am Melissa Rosequist. I'm the news editor of Scottsdale Independent. You can find this forum online on the city's YouTube channel, and then we'll also have our own coverage of it in the Scottsdale Independent newspaper and on our website at yourvalley.net. Thank you, everyone.